Welcome to Apollonia City 101 Educational Series. Today's webinar is themed What to Know Before Buying Land in Ghana. My name is Alice Mensah and I'm going to be your moderator. I'm doing this together with Pius Peterson. Pius has 18 years experience in the real estate industry and he's a project manager of Ken City. Ken City is a sister city of Apollonia City, which is based in Takoradi. This webinar is sponsored by Apollonia City. For all those who do not know much about Apollonia City, it is an urban scale city development, which is about 2,325 acres of land, which is like half of Tema, that is putting together community 1 to 6. It is also master planned into residential, commercial, and then industrial use. For the residential, we have the Oxford, which is already built homes, which you can buy. And for the service lands, we have Nova Ridge, which you can also build your own house based on your plans. Someone will ask, how is Apollonia City owned? It's owned in partnership with the chiefs and people of Apollonia, which is the community that the city finds itself. Now, it's time to begin our webinar. Please type in your questions at the chat box. Please do that for us. Then at the end of the session, we'll read all of we will respond to all your answers. Also, share our graphics about how to buy land in Apollonia. Also, some offers we have for you. Enjoy. Pius, your audience.
Thank you very much, Alice. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining this webinar. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. This webinar is going to be quite interesting, informative, and interactive. So please do not hesitate to send through all your questions as our moderator has reiterated, and they will surely be addressed as we progress. Now, what should you know as a person before buying a land? What this question suggests is that it is very critical for each person to strive to own a piece of land. And why is this so? Land, as we all know, is an asset which appreciates so much over time that it is said to be a hedge against inflation, though factors such as location and availability of infrastructure plays a key role. The underpinning reason is that land, and for that matter, space, is a basic factor of every production. Therefore, as population increases and the need for shelter also increases with economic activity, the demand for land increases. But interestingly, supply of land remains constant, or in a way, it's even reducing, because God has finished his creation and he's not creating any new land now. Ghana's land size, which totals approximately 238,535 square kilometers, keeps reducing since independence era. So this clearly points to the fact that if you have not made up your mind to acquire one, just do so, because it's not getting any cheaper. Now, how can one be able to acquire one or land devoid of any challenges? The main purpose of this webinar is to attempt to demystify the land acquisition process by reducing it to 4 main sections or steps. Now, the first step is for each person to know the type of land ownership that exists in this country, which will then inform your second step. Now, that is the due diligence required on the land and ownership. You should also be mindful of what documentation is required after you've done all your due diligence. And finally, what do you do with the documentation? You need to proceed and register your interest as a form of notice to the whole world. Now, before we embark on this journey, let's quickly look at some of the challenges in the land administration sector or in acquiring land in Ghana. Top on the list is land litigation. And I know my audience will agree with me that if one is not careful, he may end up acquiring a piece of litigation instead of a piece or a parcel of land. This problem is compounded with the fact that our legal system grinds slowly, and even in instances where we have judgment, such judgment may even conflict each other, though attempts have been made by the Chief Justice to reduce this by the introduction of composite plan on all land litigation. But multiple legal claims exist on a particular piece of land, so you need to be well informed so that you don't end up being a prey of this challenge. Another important challenge is the difficulty in registering one's interest. People allude to the fact that this is due to the duplication of effort and bureaucracies in the land registration system. Though attempts have been made by Lands Commission's Client Service Access Unit to create a one-stop shop for one individual to be able to lodge his or her document and come for it at a specific time point when it's done, your guess is as good as mine if this is working. Again, it is very, very important to have approved master plan or schemes because this is a prerequisite for registration. Once you are doing a registration, it is required that you obtain a planning or zoning clearance that it conforms to the use to which you want to put it. But more often than not, we don't have these plans in existence, and some of them are poorly done. Again, the issues of land guards cannot be understated. Quite recently, a woman even lost her life due to the activities of land guard. These land guards go around soliciting funds, extorting funds from owners. So this is also a challenge. And once you are acquiring land and you see this, you have to be mindful. Again, the use of unqualified professionals, such as quack surveyors and the likes, cannot be understated. More often than not, these people engage in fraudulent activity. If you are not lucky, you can have a piece of land with land title, with a site plan, which is attached with a search report, which does not actually conform to the exact location of the land that you are buying. So you need to be very careful with these challenges. Now, having been well informed or equipped with these challenges, it presupposes that we need to chart our course steadily so that we avoid these challenges. And in doing so, we start with our first step on the road to acquire a land devoid of any problem. It is very, very important to know the type of land ownership that exists in Ghana. Why is it so? Because this will help you to verify your root of title or the origin of title of the land that you are interested in. Under this, we will look at three key things. One, how is such land acquired? And two, how is it administered? And the third thing is that what are the requirements in alienating or transferring such land to another person? Let's be mindful that out of the total land size of Ghana, about 20% forms state or vested lands, and 80% forms stool, family, clan, and the likes, and the remaining 2% represent private or individual lands. So let's start with state lands. Now, what is state or public lands? These are lands owned by government, and it's usually acquired through compulsory acquisition. The state has a sovereign power to expropriate, or to simply put, to take an individual, a family, or a stool lands in the interest of the public. But the 1992 Constitution also enshrines that the state is required to pay prompt, fair, and adequate compensation to affected persons. Now, your guess is as good as mine if these compensations are being promptly paid. In Accra, for example, such lands exist in areas like Rage, where we have our National Cathedral coming up, areas like Kanda Airport Residential Area, Laboni, Osu, and the likes. Now, Osu and the likes. Now, how is this land managed? This is managed by Lands Commission, now specifically Public and Vested Land Division of the Lands Commission. So if one wants to acquire one, he has to apply either through the Executive Secretary or the Regional Lands Officer. And once that is granted, he will proceed to provide or achieve obtain concurrence or consent for the use to which he wants to put it. Closely linked to this type of land is vested land. These are also administered the same way as state land, such that the state only possesses legal rights. The state does not own that land. He only possesses legal rights as a trustee on behalf of the indigents who own that land. Example of such land as if you go beyond Central University in Pram and even part of Ridge, they are vested land. So what Land Commission does is that he manages the land on behalf of the indigents and pay royalties as benefit to these people. So state and stool lands are normally grouped together, and that is the more reason why it is being managed by Public and Vested Lands Management Division. Now, let's go to the third type of land that exists in Ghana. Yeah, that is stool skin lands. The skin pertains to the north. These lands are owned by stool or skin who originally occupy such land, or by discovery or by conquest. If I say conquest, once a stool engaged in a war in a particular area and he wins the war, it means that he has conquered the place, and therefore that particular stool, let's say Nungwa stool, becomes the allodial owner of that place. This land is being administered by the occupant in trust and on behalf of the subject. The occupant is usually the chief, but in the absence of a chief, it could be a regent. Now that's a caretaker chief who administers such land. Now, what is required to alienate or transfer this land? It is very important that you have the signature of the chief or the occupant plus principal elders of that stool. But these lands should be alienated in conformity to Article 267 of the 1992 Constitution, which proposes that, one, you cannot create a freehold interest. So any interest that can be transferred is terminable. I think I will throw more light on that in my subsequent slides. And again, one is also required to obtain concurrence, or simply put consent, from Lands Commission to ensure that the particular use to which the person wants to put that land conforms to the approved scheme in the area. Another type of land ownership is family land. These are lands owned by family, as the name depicts, and it's also obtained through conquest or first settlement. So usually in document, you see frames that after breaking the virginity of the land, it presupposes that they are the first to settle on that land. Also, such land is administered by family heads in trust or on behalf of the family, but one does not need to obtain any consent or concurrence from Public and Vested Land Division of Lands Commission before they can alienate that land. Now, the 2%, which is the last type of land, is individual or private lands. Now, these lands are lands which are acquired by individual, devoid of any restrictions of a particular stool or a family. So it's more or less like a freehold interest that an individual acquires from this stool, but it stands on its own. Now, having been equipped with knowing the various types of land. Yes, I forgot to give examples of family lands. Osuwem family is an example. And I remember there was a landmark case involving Central University when Pramprams 2 attempted to make claim, but it was ruled that that area is a family land. And for that matter, judgment was given in favor of Central University. So it's very, very important to know the type of land ownership in the area that you identified. Now, having equipped yourself with the various types of land ownership, you are well equipped to embark on a due diligence. First, you will start on the land, then we will proceed to the ownership. It is very important, especially when it's a first registration without land title and anything, and you are dealing with an individual or a chief. It's very important to embark on a site inspection with your seller or the vendor. Now, what this does is that in case you are accosted by any land guards or anybody, your owner will speak to it. Again, it is also very important to engage in neighborhood questioning. This will help you to know whether the area is susceptible to flood or whether your reported owner is the owner. You can ask questions. You can even look out for types of vegetation that exist in such areas. Again, it is very, very important to ensure that your land that you intend to buy has availability of infrastructure. As the rains are about to come, a lot of people will resort to prayers, praying to God to hold the rains. But I don't think, that should be the case. You should make sure that you have good roads and drainage that will make you safe on the land that you are buying. Again, you have to be mindful of the use of land gas. When you see land gas there, there are serious red flags that you ought to know that there are problems. One other important thing is that you need to know and ensure that the use to which you want to put that land into conforms to the scheme and zoning regulation of the area, because all these things are prerequisites for registering your interest. So if the use does not conform, you will not get a concurrence or the consent from Lands Commission to proceed with your registration. Now, having done that, we will proceed further to interrogate or do due diligence on the ownership of the land you want to buy. Again, it is very critical to engage the services of licensed surveyor. I'm a professional surveyor myself, but you need to engage a licensed surveyor. Go with that surveyor on that said land after your seller has identified the corners of the plot that you intend to buy. Pick those coordinates of that land and use that coordinate to generate a site plan. This will help you very much on your search report, because the exact land that you have picked is the exact land that you will be doing a search on. Again, in embarking on a search, when there is no title on that land, it is very, very important to start with Public and Vested Lands Management Division of the Lands Commission, then proceed to Land Registry Division, then Survey and Mapping Division to do all these searches. Your search result should confirm your root of title, as I said earlier. Another key thing that one should be mindful of is the existing interest on the land, i.e. the unexpired term. We normally use the term buy, but actually, we are not buying, but we're taking a long lease. So be mindful of the unexpired term that you are buying. Now, if you look at the extreme left of our slide, you can see an example of a site plan which is bar-coded. What it means is that once you are able to obtain this site plan, if you are doing your cadastral plan at survey, you don't have to go back to site again, and it facilitates the process. Now, the middle one shows an example of a official search. Again, the general practice is that people use acquaintances at the Lands Commission to try and peep in and update them on the transactions on a particular land. But that is not correct. It is very, very important to do an official search. And on my extreme right is an example of an indenture. that is stamped. We are progressing steadily. Having known the first two steps, it is very, very important to then reduce every agreement in writing. Most especially when payment is not one-off. Make sure that initial agreements are reduced to offer letter. But what I'm outlining is a case study of Apollonia City and what is being done here. The offer letter will be duly signed. Then we will proceed further and sign a term sheet, which will then be used to prepare a purchase and sale agreement. All this will happen in the course of payment or gathering your documentation. So once you pay the final payment, you are expected to get an indenture. Again, now let me try and educate my audience a little on the various terms or terminology used for this indenture. At times you see a lease, you see assignment, you see sublease. Well, what it means is that if it's a first registration, assuming I, Pius Peterson, I go to Nungwas too, that I want to buy a land. If I'm able to acquire that piece of land, the document I'm expected to get is a lease because it's the first transaction on that land. Now, assuming Alice wants to acquire part of the lease that I have obtained, again, as I said, maximum it will be 99 years for residents, that is indigents, and 50 years for foreigners. So assuming I had 99 years and I want to sell to Alice, two things. I can decide to sell the whole 99 years to Alice, which means that I'm assigning all my interest to Alice. So the term assignment. However, if I transfer, let's say, 90 years out of the 99 years that I've obtained from the stool, I'm not giving an assignment, but it's what? A sublease. So having known these various terminologies, it is very, very important to be mindful of these key things. One, the parties that are clearly written on the document. Ensure that they are the parties that were revealed during your due diligence. Again, make sure that the documents are well executed. If I say well executed, in cases where your grantor or your seller does not sign and he or she what Tom Princess, make sure that there is a jurat which clearly states that it has been explained to him or her. And make sure that you also have a witness. Again, property description is key. There's a schedule attached to your indenture or the lease assignment. Be mindful of the lease term. Well, that is the unexpired term, and the price should clearly be stated. And also other selling covenant in the agreement, development requirement, and what is required of you before you can assign to another person. These are all very important things that one ought to be mindful of. Again, be careful to use the banks, anti-money laundering. And again, that will ensure that you obtain receipts for every money that you pathway with. So, as my slides clearly show, you see example on my extreme right is a lease document. On the middle is a land title certificate. Then, having obtained this document, it is very important not to keep this under your pillow or under your bed, because ownership on a particular land is clearly expressed or exhibited in two ways. One, you have to be in absolute possession, and two, you have to have clean title without any encumbrance or a lien. So it is very, very important to proceed to Lands Commission to register such interest or such documentation that has been rightfully acquired. So now, as my slide clearly states, registration is just the recording of right and interest in land as evidenced by the instrument. One other important thing that one should know is that you need to know the requirement of your district, the registration requirement of your district. In Ghana, Only Greater Accra region, and I mean Tema inclusive, Greater Accra, Tema, part of Central region, that is Senya, Ewutu, and then part of Asante region, Edu specifically, are areas declared as land title region. So what this means is that once you embark on a registration at the Lands and Commission up to the deeds registry, at these areas that are declared land title region, you have to proceed further to do a land title registration at the land registry division. And the deeds registry has also introduced the use of cadastral plans so as to correct some of the errors which was previously observed under the registration. So quickly, once you acquire the land and you want to register, where should you go? The first point is Client Access Unit, where you submit your document. But for you to know the flow or the process, you first have to do your stamp duty. And the division and the Lands and Commission entitled to do that is Land Valuation Division. After doing your stamp duty, you proceed to PVLMD for your deed to be registered. Now, if the area that you have acquired is not part of Greater Accra region, part of Edum or Central region, then you are good to proceed to the deed registry and have it registered there. Outside that, you have to go on and do your land title registration. So my audience, I think we are well prepared now, but to attempt to recap and summarize what we have learned so far, the first step is to know the type of land ownership, having identified the parcel you want to buy. Now, having known this, it takes you to your second step. That is step 2. You embark on a due diligence on the land and ownership. And again, you have to look out for prerequisites, such as your search report, your planning regulation, to ensure that they conform to the use. Then the third step is to ensure that your documentation complies with your due diligence. Fourth step is to be mindful of the lease covenant executed. And again, finally, proceed to the Lands Commission to register your interests for the whole world to know that you are the owner. And trust me, you will not have any issues. So to conclude, it is therefore very critical to employ the services of a qualified professional, such as lawyer and surveyor. Mind you, I'm a professional surveyor myself, so I need your money. Brokers and estate agents. And also, you have to let these professionals engage on proper due diligence. More often than not, it is seen that they are expensive. So if you don't have the muscle to do that, hey, guy, just make sure you get a reputable company with the muscle to provide the following for you. 1, you have a clean and unencumbered title. You have an approved master plan. You have infrastructure that will not let you be disturbing God for the rains to stop. You have good estate management services to ensure that any use that you put your land to gives you the highest and best use. And also, finally, you will have undisturbed possession. So, as clearly indicated, buy land, they are not making it anymore. My audience, now I'm ready for your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you too, Pius. Thank you so much, Pius. We are happy for the presentation, and I know your audience are also happy to have such an educative webinar from you. To sum it up, Apollonia City gives you all these, and so if you don't want to go through the hassle, hey, just book a meeting. As you can see on your screen, the numbers are right. Book a meeting with one of our advisors, and we'll give you the best offer you will never regret. So it's time for your questions. I have some few questions, but I know the rest also have quite a number of questions. So please go to the chat button and input all your questions so that we will read it for you. So as I leave you to write your questions, I would like to play a video for you to see what others also have to say.
So my name is Ernest Kwesi Dakwa Ade. I live in England, Red Hill precisely, but I work in Saudi Arabia for an oil company there. In recent times, I've acquired one of the Apollonia City properties, landed properties. It's on the Oyibi Dodoa area. The reason why I did that, the flexibility in payment was quite good, noble. I also had support from their customer service team. So far, I would say it's been stress-free. There's no litigation. The good thing is that if you want to come back home and acquire a litigation-free land without having to go through any middlemen, I think Apollonia City gives you options with service plots and properties that are already been built. It comes with amenities, good security, electricity, and water. So I think if you're thinking about coming home, Apollonia City gives you a great option. Thank you, guys.
It's time to make your move to Apollonia City. Call or visit us today.
Okay, so it's time to read all your questions. The first question is from one Selassie. And Selassie is asking you, Pius, how long is the lease agreement with Apollonia?
Thank you, Alice. The lease agreement is 99 years. But what we offer our clients is 80 years for residential and 75 for commercial or industrial. Generally, in the market, what is being offered is on the average, 60-year lease, especially on government lands. So Apollonia is doing much better. Thank you, Alice.
Thank you for your answer, Pius. One is also asking, that is Jada. Jada is asking if there will be a repeat or whether this will be sent to him. So I'll take this myself. Jada, after 24 hours, this video will be sent to you via email. So kindly check your email after 24 hours. And I can also send the slides to you also, so that if you want to look through it, you can do that. Okay. Another question for you, Pius, from Willie. Willie is asking, so is this land leased or do we own it after we pay for it? So he's asking whether land is leased or whether we pay for it after, whether we own it after we pay for it.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, the land is a lease. And the idea behind it is that land is for all and all should have access to use that land. But it is very, very important for my audience to note that once your lease expires and you have fulfilled all the covenants under that lease, there's something we call right of first refusal. Unless you don't want your place, your grantor or your seller cannot force you out. So again, it is very, very important to make sure that we live up to the things that we signed to, so that at the end of the day, it will not be used against that you were not able to do this, you're not able to do that. So as a matter of fact, what we acquire is a long lease. It's not buy, because the 1992 Constitution frowns on creating a freehold interest. So every interest acquired is terminable. Thank you, Alice.
Okay, there's another question from Yvonne. Yvonne said, which land type should an individual consider buying for a home?
Well, for a home, I will go beyond the type of land. But again, if you look at the examples I gave on the state lands, they are usually at the prime areas. You see airports, cantonment, and what makes this area prime is that they have the facilities, road and all these things. The government acquires it and put infrastructure. So if you want to buy and build for your residence, I would say that you need to have it at a place where you have infrastructure, because if I give the land values at Usu, I think you will run away. They are very expensive. You can't afford. So if you have a place, which is within the growth path of Accra, that have infrastructure in place, I dare you that choose that option, and your land value will appreciate up to the point that estate lands or cantonment and the airport is in future.
Okay. Samuel is asking if you can explain what jurat means.
Thank you. Jurat is simply a legal term. You see, more often than not, most grantors or vendors or sellers are not educated, so they cannot sign, so they thumbprint. So it is required that your document should have it clearly written there, that it has been explained to them and they understand. Now that is why they are thumbprinting. So if they thumbprint and you don't have this jurat there, in court, if you tender this in as exhibit, now somebody can say that, hey, I did this at the address, I didn't know what I was doing. So make sure that if you are executing your document and the person is not educated enough to sign and he thumbprints, that phrase is there. It has been explained and is well understood. Thank you, Alice.
Samuel is also asking, can one register his or her land without the barcode on the site plan?
Thank you, Samuel. Yeah, what it is that currently in Accra, you can only do that in Tema, but I'm sure this will end very soon. But what the barcode site plan does is that it facilitates the registration process and reduce the duplication of effort. Once you have the barcoded site plan and you are doing a cadastral plan, you don't have to go back to site again. You see, so it is very, very important. If you can obtain the barcoded plan right from the onset, do that, so that you save your time, the hustle of going back with a surveyor to pick the coordinates again. Hope I've answered your question, Samuel.
Okay. Pius, Samuel is also asking that at the end of the lease period, say 99 or 50 years, what does the leasee need to do, particularly if he has developed the land?
Yeah, that's what I said. If you have developed the land, you see, land is anything beneath, on top, and above. So if you have developed the land and you have fulfilled all righteousness by observing the covenant, it will be unreasonable for your grantor or your vendor or your seller to come in and push you out. It has to be renewed. You see, so you go for renewal, not just as it's done on government's land. TDC, I will give you 60 years, but at the end of the 60 years, you apply and you pay a peppercorn rent or something small. It's not as what you paid originally. Then it will be regularized for you. But if you are deemed not to conform to the covenant of your documentation or your lease, then it could be grounds for your grantor to object your renewal. Hope I've answered someone's question.
I hope so too. Jada is asking whether you can repeat and explain any additional requirements for foreigners who want to buy land or house.
Thank you. For foreigners, you don't need any additional requirement. You see, once you have the means to buy, the only restriction is that you cannot be given a full term. You cannot be given 99 years. You see, so you will only be given 50 years if you are a foreigner. But if you are a foreigner and you are married to an indigent, then you can also be given a 99 years because you don't end up being a foreigner any longer.
Okay. Ben is also asking that people usually say location is key when buying a land. He's asking whether you think distance is an issue to consider when buying a land.
Thank you very much. Distance, Alice, I would say is subjective and relative. You see, more often than not, people look at proximity to work, to child's school, and other things come to play. You see, and nowhere is far in Accra. As I said in my presentation, once the land you intend to buy is within the growth trajectory of Accra, and what Apollonia City is trying to build is to create an independent city, which will create a live, work, and play No, so that you don't have to commute for a longer distance. So distance, I don't think should be a problem. No, rather, no, what one should be mindful of is the availability of infrastructure and the fact that the plot that is acquiring is within the growth path, which will appreciate over time.
Okay.
If you look at East Legon and the likes, you see, it's no, hitherto you will say it's far. At times, I myself, I blame myself. Somebody was offering me land at Spintex Road. I said it's far. No, but with time, all these places have catch up with development. So distance is very relative. I can be in Accra and it will take me 2 hours to even get to Ridge. Thank you very much.
Okay. So Pius, on the question about the expiration of the lease term, Ebenezer is asking a follow-up question that what if the guarantor now quotes an exorbitant offer after the lease term expires? What do you do?
Well, that's why we have the law court. It cannot be that. It's you see, no, this law I think came from UK, and the intent is that everybody should have the use of the land. So if you, let's say you acquire for X amount, no, there's a calculation towards that. I mean, surrender and renewal. So it is being regularized. No, you cannot just base it on your feelings or how much you want to charge. You see, the laws are there to guide. So once you have fulfilled all the covenant under the lease, and it gives you an offer which you think is way beyond the open market, or now the courts are there for you to take redress. I hope I've answered the question.
Okay.
So it is not going to be anything unreasonable. No, it's not going to.
Okay. Miss Misa is also asking whether a purchaser can sell his property within Apollonia, or will they be required to pay anything back to Apollonia?
Well, what Apollonia does is that Apollonia is keeping good records of land management. So if you intend to buy, if you intend to sell your land, you need to first get back to the company to inform him that you want to sell it. And a company has a right to buy it or not. Or if you cannot, if the company is not interested, then you can go on and offer it to another person. Now, but what the company does is that it needs to know that such ownership or such land is changing ownership. So the company should be the first point, so that we update our records to reflect the status quo.
Okay. Dede is also asking how much it costs to do a barcode for a plot.
It depends on the size. Other factors come to play. And I'm sorry, I cannot sit and guess, or I cannot give a specific figure, because a lot of factors come to play. The size of your land, the likes. So I'm sure once you get to client service access unit at the Lands Commission, you know the exact cost of how much it will cost you to get a barcoded site plan.
Okay. Ebenezer Need Baby is asking that if you buy land and you later discover that it has natural resources, what rights does the vendor or the grantor have, especially when it comes to renewal?
What right? Like I'm saying, land is anything above, beneath, anything on, beneath, and above. So if you observe, analysis. No, mind, that is the more reason why we have zoning, regulation of a particular area. So assuming you have bought a land for residential use, and maybe you went to your backyard, you were digging and you found a gold there. The land is not for mining. So for you to be able to go and mine that gold, you need to go to the regulation or the authority who regulates the mining to come into play. You see, so the use to which a particular place is zoned is very critical, and that is why in established organization, we ensure that these things are strictly adhered to. You see, so if you acquire land, in any case, be mindful that it will be, one of your lease covenants that you should use the land, such that it will not be wasted. If I should say that, it's not like you have bought the land, so you can do anything to the land. Do you get me? Because if you do anything now, that is what detrimental or that affects the use. Assuming the impact of galamsey and the likes. So your grantor can just come in and take you out that you are rather destroying the land. So you don't own it, and you will be very right to do that. And because the use to which you acquire the land is not the use that you are putting it to.
Okay. Someone is also asking, Sugri Ali, saying that what constitutes a foreigner? Is a Ghanaian living abroad classified as a foreigner?
A Ghanaian living abroad, it's not a foreigner, it's a Ghanaian. And more often than not, these foreigners are even not married to Ghanaians anyway. So once you have any evidence that you are Ghanaian, you own a Ghanaian passport, you have a Ghanaian birth certificate, you are a Ghanaian.
Okay, thank you, Pius. Joseph is asking how much a parcel of land cost at Apollonia City.
Apollonia City, it ranges, and Joseph, what I will say is that just try and get onto our hotline and get to our salesperson, because we have a variety of them. You see, I don't know the size that you are interested in, but 50 by it starts from let's say 20,000 USD up to 60,000 USD, depending on the size. But I tell you, these are lands that are fully serviced, and sorry for using dollars, a city equivalent of that amount. Before I get a call from Bank of Ghana, you pay city equivalent of that amount that I mentioned. After the permutation, I think if you go to Bank of Ghana, you know the exchange rate.
Okay, so Pius, let me check on that. So for Ghanaians living in Ghana here, it starts from 130,000. So that is for Ghanaians living in Ghana here. But once you are abroad, you are free to pay in dollars, which starts from $20,500. Those abroad, feel free to pay in dollars. So the next question is from Samuel. Samuel is asking that, does a site plan qualify one a title to land? Can you prove ownership with just a site plan when it goes to court? Or can you add the receipt of payments also to prove that you own the land?
Thank you. But Alice, you agree with me that mere site plan does not give ownership. You see, once somebody is able to have a superior title or superior document to exhibit that he has documentation on that piece of land, now site plan is not enough. It's not enough. Though in instances where there is no recorded transaction, it can be used in court if you have your receipts and all those things. That something that you have paid for and you intend to register. And see, so a mere site plan now does not confer title. A mere site plan doesn't do that. So you have to proceed and register your interest.
Okay. We have some few questions left. Abigail is asking whether she can start building her house without a building permit if she has a land in Apollonia City.
Abigail, I'm sorry to tell you that Apollonia City frowns on that. You see, we have our internal development control committee who approves your plan. before we facilitate or aid you by sending it to the local authority for you to obtain a building permit. Now, the authorities are required to come for inspection on that land before they issue building permit. So what happens is that if you even start before obtaining a permit, you are required to pay a penalty of about 50% of the total cost. So we don't allow our clients to start without building permit. But what we do is that we have a good relation with the local authority, and we tend to facilitate it for our clients.
Okay. Eric is asking whether he has to show proof of payment when he's registering his land.
Eric, you don't need to do that. You see, once the consideration is in your agreement and your grantor or your seller signs to that, it really proves that you've paid for it. And even now, generally, what the Lands Commission does is that they have a rough idea of the open market value of all the areas. So even if you think you can undercut by stating low figures, they know how much a particular area costs. So they usually use the open market value of that area. So you don't need to attach receipts to your document. Okay. Thank you.
Ebenezer is asking a follow-up question in terms of he selling a land that he owns in Apollonia. He's asking that, just to confirm, did you say Apollonia has the first right of refusal?
Yeah, thank you. Exactly so. Apollonia has the first right of refusal. Yeah, because we want to create a serene land management system. So let's say you have been given a land in a particular area not to develop, and you haven't done that, and the area is left vacant. Well, you can go and get a new buyer who is also going to take time to develop such land. So it is very, very important for Apollonia City to get that piece of land and ensure that anybody who comes develop on time, so that it matches up with the development requirement of that area. So it is very important that Apollonia has the right of first refusal. But I can assure you that this is not being abused in any way.
Okay. Yasmin says that what does fully serviced plot mean?
Yes, fully serviced plot is a plot which has access road, good roads, tarred road, drainage, you have power, you have water, you have estate management services. You see, and what Apollonia City does is that we give development timelines. You see, it's usually up to 5 years. So we'll make sure that within the time that you buy the land and the 5th year, if the infrastructure is not even there, it will be provided. But currently, if you come to site, you see a tarred road, you see underground power cables, you see drains, you see efficient estate management services. Hope I've answered your question.
Okay. Food Trail is asking, what are the different sizes of each parcel of land?
Wow.
Asking in connection to Apollonia City.
Different types. We have various types. We have 50 by 60, 50 by 70. We have, I can't enumerate all. It depends. And I can assure you, we have well-informed and qualified real estate advisors who will then advise you once you make them know the need to which you intend to put that land. The number of your household come to play. You see, I think we've gone past the era whereby we acquire large tracts of land for nothing. a 3-bedroom or a 4-bedroom can comfortably be placed on a 70 by 40 or 70 by 50 and still accommodate 3 cars, and you'll be fine. So we have various types, and once you call on our hotline or contact line, our REAs will advise you more on the particular land that will suit your need. Thank you.
Okay. So, Pius, I just wanted to add a little to the plots of land. So we have 40 by 70, which is our starting plot size as at now, to 80 by 100. But in between that, we have about 8 more different sizes. And so no matter the space you need, we have it. Whether it's small, 40 by 70, or very big, 80 by 100, we have it available. And our hotlines also, we actually put it on the screen, but in case you didn't see it, our hotline is 027 5577 577. I go over it again. Please write it down if you have to. 027 5577 577. Okay. So we have the, I think we have the, whoa, I thought we had the last questions, but it looks like there are more questions coming up. We will have to wrap up. So I'll read last 4 questions, and then the rest, I will do well to email you. Since I have your email addresses, I'll do well to email you the responses. Okay. So Priscilla is asking whether she can have her own design of which she can build on. Again, when she buys a plot of land, can she build per her own design, or she has to choose from Apollonia's designs?
Well, what Apollonia does is that we have designs that we offer to our clients, especially on the facade, of what the client can do. But we are quite flexible on allowing individuals to do their own design, such that they have to conform to our development control guidelines, especially the height of wall, the clearance that one ought to ensure. So now we have guidelines to guide, but you are free to do your own design. Now, just that the facade should conform to what has been agreed, especially now on the level or the height. We have low density, where you cannot go beyond 2 floors. We have areas where you can do up to 3, 4. So all these are well structured, which I know you'll be given more information.
Okay. Sugri is asking that what are the rules on building? I know we can send a more detailed document to Sugri, but if you can just highlight a few rules for building after you got a plot within Apollonia City.
Oh, well, let me touch on a few, because if I say I'm doing that, I'm not going to end this session. Well, what is required is that before you even start your construction, you need to give us a copy of your building permit. Then you will have to visit our construction site manager with a clearance letter, and we give you a letter for you to start work. And before you do that, you have to go through orientation. You see, on ensuring that your workers use all the PPEs and all the likes. And we have a development control guidelines that we will give to your contractor to strictly adhere to. Again, we have a pool of qualified contractors which one can rely on. However, if one also has his or her own contractor that he wants him or her to do the construction, we have processes that contractor has to go through for him or her to be regularized. So I think we have a tall list that I think we can address. But again, Alice, just to rehash on my previous question, Apollonia also offers land for other land use, social, education, churches, and the likes. We have KICC. Currently, we have a school on site. We also have an industrial park, a 200-acre modern light industrial park for industries who wants to come to Apollonia. And we even have central business and our district where you can build for offices and retail. So that is why Ali said in the introduction, our products are mixed use, mixed income, which caters for all income and brackets. Thank you. Alice, you can continue.
So Evelyn, Eric, Seth, and Dede are asking the same question. They are asking if this slides will be shared with them and whether the video will be shared with them. So as I said earlier, you will do well to share all these with you. By close of tomorrow, you should have all that. Also, Yvonne, Salasi, Victor, Suguru, and Willie said very informative webinar and that they are happy to know that we are doing this. So Pius, kudos. People are actually happy with the webinar you've actually hosted today.
Thank you very much, Alice. And I'll use this opportunity to also entreat all of us to up our hygiene as this Ebola has come to, sorry, I said Ebola, coronavirus has come to us. I know that we will take solace in Psalm 91, that it will not harm us. But let's honestly up our hygiene. If you can avoid shaking hands, let's try and do so. And trust me, we will all be fine. It's coronavirus, not Ebola anyway. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you to Pius. Before we end, I've actually shared some documents. So how to buy land from Apollonia is a PDF that I've shared. So if you have the files, if you click on the files bit, you see that it is there. You can click to view or you can click to download. Also with offers, I shared one offer, which is our service plot offer. Once you click the offer button and you see the schedule a meeting button, once you click on that, it takes you straight to our website where you can start a live chat conversation with one of our advisors. So these are things that we are offering to you as you've come to understand the processes that you need to go through when acquiring land in Ghana. I would like to end with a last video for you to see what others are doing after they bought land within Apollonia City.
A place of relief, a place of serenity. The gates are open wide, beckoning me in. I see beautiful houses in a beautiful place. Schools, shopping malls, and all you need. Welcome to the place of your dreams. Apollonia City. It's everything you've wanted and more. Apollonia City. Oh, welcome to the place of your dreams. Apollonia City. Everything is possible. Apollonia City. All your hopes and dreams to achieve. Apollonia City. Welcome to the place of your dreams. Apollonia City. Oh, welcome to the place of your dreams. Apollonia City. Everything is possible. Apollonia City. All your hopes and dreams to achieve. Apollonia City. Welcome to the place of your dreams. Apollonia